Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. Yes, you are getting another podcast style video because apparently that's just what I'm wanting to do right now. This is not necessarily the future of my videos. It might be the future of my wrap up style videos just because I find this to be a more relaxed way of doing it. Um, I just prefer this. I just prefer this. Not only that, but it doesn't take up any memory on my phone, so it's easier to make these videos and store them. Whereas on the phone, I can run out of space. I also have to like put on regular clothes and look presentable, and I don't have to do that when I do this podcast style. So that's what you're getting. Hopefully, hopefully it doesn't annoy you too much. But today I'm going to be giving you my Buzzwordathon reading wrap up, and the theme for February, yes, February, was books with verbs in the title. So I actually read several books with verbs, but a lot of them were also for Blackathon, so I decided to review those as part of Blackathon instead of including them in this video, and other ones were part of the Ice Planet Barbarian series, which I'm going to do a full series recap with spoilers in a future video, so hope you look forward to that. Alright, so first off, we have A Puppet Scorned by Jamie Kort. And oh my goodness, I have talked about this book so much because it's funny to talk about. I gave it 5 stars. I got a review copy from the author on Discord. And I read it over the course of a couple of nights as like my bedtime story. It is sock puppet erotica that is also part of the horror genre. So, sock puppet, erotica, horror. Yes, you heard me right. Um, all of the erotic elements deal with using like knitting to unwind the other participant. There's also quite a bit of gore, like dissecting bats and sewing them onto yourself, and creation of deformed children, and a lover scorned, and what they will do to retaliate. Yeah, I can't really say anything more without spoiling it because this book was only 30 pages long, but I do highly recommend it if you've wanted to try something in the realm of like bizarro fiction or like the king of this Chuck Tingle, that sort of fiction. I think you would really be up for A Puppet Scorned, but that's all I can say about it for now. Next up, we have Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun, which I also gave 5 stars. This one is more in like a single setting than the rest of the series. This is the third book in the series, so I'm going to keep it pretty non-spoiler, but I am going to have an individual review for all of these books at some point in the future where I will give you all of the spoils you could possibly want. But in this one, Finlay Donovan is wanting to kind of solve this mystery, and like I don't know if they're like the mob or the mafia or something like that, but the bad guys are kind of wanting her to figure out who did this thing. So she winds up going to the police academy, which is just kind of a course that they're doing for civilians. So it's not like a real police academy. So she decides to go, and it should help her be able to write her next book, or at least that's why she says she's there. But she's really trying to find out if there is a dirty cop who's involved. And so you get a lot of the red herrings and different people you're casting suspicion on. I liked the guy who it wound up being in the beginning. I didn't think that it was going to be them. But you also get to see the children in this. You get to see Stephen, or at least hear about Stephen. You do get her quirky nanny, which is one of my favorite characters in the series. And then, of course, you get the cop. We finally, uh, kind of get a little bit of a resolution with the love triangle. And I enjoyed how that went. I liked getting the steamy scene. I just like Finlay Donovan. She's a mom and everything, and she's a writer. I'm not a mom, so I don't identify with that. But like, I'm a writer as well. But also as someone that's like in their 30s now, I'm just like, yes, the people in their 30s are still young. They can still make dumb, impulsive decisions, and Finlay Donovan definitely does that. The one of the funniest scenes was them stealing a cop car. Oh man! And then there's like a junkyard scene. There is so much that happens in this book. And then, of course, like the final showdown was really good. I was like, my goodness, there is going to be a fourth book in this series, and I cannot wait for it. I want it now. But that's all I can really say without getting into any spoilers. But again, there will be a spoiler review at some point. Then we have If the Fates Allow by Rainbow Rowell, which I gave 5 stars. This one's super short. It deals with the height of COVID, and the main character is wanting to go spend the holidays with her grandfather. And she and the grandfather are pretty much the only two people in the family who follow all of the rules as far as social distancing, like getting the vaccine, all that sort of thing. The rest of the family doesn't do that. And the grandfather is like, yeah, I'm not letting them over here. So she quarantines for 2 weeks in order to be able to go visit her grandfather. And then she winds up seeing a neighbor outside, and they bond over Jello. They bond over Jello. Um, yeah, yeah, and you kind of get to see how being so distanced from the rest of the world during that time can make you feel vulnerable in more ways than the medical sense, but just vulnerable to social interactions in general. You kind of lose how to communicate. So that's what you get to see in that. But it was very, very short audiobook. It was like 30 minutes. I really can't tell you more than that. But it is a romance, and I really enjoyed it. What Rose Forgot, which I guess technically goes in here because forgot is a verb. So yeah, I'm a DNF What Rose Forgot. So this one I enjoyed the writing style. I think it was interesting, but I don't care for unreliable narrators, and I just didn't know if the character was unreliable or not. It was a little bit of a dreamlike quality to the story. And so I just DNF'd it mostly because I knew it wasn't going to be above a 3-star read, and I had other things I wanted to read more, and that's really all I gotta say about the DNF. I DNF'd at 100 and something pages. This was a book club pick for my library. Everyone else really enjoyed the book, so if having a grandmother main character waking up in a nursing home feeling like they're being drugged and also having amnesia, and then having people like trying to kill them, if that sounds interesting, then I would say go ahead and try it out. It wasn't for me. Next, we have Every Window Filled with Light. This one is a Christian fiction with a romance subplot. It is about a woman who is a widow of 2 years. Her husband was murdered during his job as a teacher. He was stabbed by one of the students, and then this preacher comes to town who actually kind of works with the guy that killed her husband. And so this guy is part of his ministry, and he knows more of the details than she does about exactly what happened and also what her husband said as he was passing, and is wanting to give her this information, but she doesn't want to hear it because, in her eyes, the kid that stabbed her husband is always going to be a murderer, and she just cannot see any way to move forward. But then she winds up finding a girl in the library and taking her in as like a foster parent. And this girl also has lots of trust issues and issues with forgiving others. So they kind of have a parallel arc that they're both going through. I really liked all of the characters in this book and felt like it had a lot of twists and turns, and just the plot line was really, really good, and of course, like a positive message as well. So, definitely would recommend this one. I will say that it does have a lot of Bible verses, and sometimes the main character would get annoyed by the pastor giving her this advice, which I thought was realistic because nobody is perfect. So I really liked Emma, and I like the progression of the storyline. But anyway, that's all I'm going to tell you about that one. Then we're going to move into the last story that I read for this, which is going to be Take the Lead by Jessica Simpson. This was my most surprising read of the month, and based off of the score, the rating that it was given with decimal points and everything, it was actually the highest rated of the month as well. So it was like my favorite, and it was a nonfiction. So I was very surprised. This one's like a 30-minute audiobook, and it basically has to do with taking the lead, meaning facing your fears and just kind of moving forward and not letting fear hold you back. And I felt like the message was good, but also the execution of how she delivers the message and the examples that she uses were awesome. So, trigger warnings in this one for childhood family members, death, uh, sexual abuse, exploitation as a public figure, as well as eating disorder. So this one just has a lot of stuff going on in a very small amount of time. But if you can handle those triggers, then I would say go ahead and give it a shot. As far as celebrity memoirs go, it's like the only one that I've read that actually seems to be connected to reality and is not all about kind of putting yourself on a high horse like you have all the answers to life. Uh, this one does not pretend to be an expert in any way. It's really just about her own experiences and how her daughter helped her to see that she was letting her fears hold herself back, and how she decided to not do that anymore. So, yeah, these are all of the books, other than the ones that I'm going to mention in my future videos, that I read for the Buzzwordathon February Verbs prompt. And I will see y'all again in a future video. If you watched to the end of this one, go ahead and drop me a four-leaf clover or a rainbow down below in the comments, and I'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye.